get maybe a few hundred people watching my video. Now I get like sometimes even 12 people, or sometimes even a single figure. 7 people, 5 people from few hundred. So and then I know if I can find. I would like to show you something, with regard to YouTube, because they. So I really think that they're really shadow banning me in a quite ferocious way, YouTube, and I would like to, if I can find, I would like to, let's see if I can find something. I would like to show you an article about YouTube. Let's see if I can find it. To show an article, an article talking about how they, you know, how yeah. I would like to show you an article. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah. Okay, you know, that's an article. Let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. That's an article from Russia Insider, which they have some they have really good articles from time to time. At least some of the articles are really good and interesting. So the title is this article from published by Russia Insider is YouTube will determine what conspiracy is and stop recommending such videos, which I'm pretty sure it's fully now is fully being implemented against my videos, because as I said, without any apparent reason, I moved from getting 100 views for my video on YouTube to getting like maybe views in single digits. So as they say, to talk about the evolution of Google YouTube from a free expression platform into something entirely different. This change has been underway for a while, and now it just took another step in a very short-sighted, allegedly, and restrictive direction. So this is from NBC article. Now I don't know if I can elaborate a bit on this. Right, so it says, where is it gone now? Conspiracy, covering up conspiracies, is a fundamental part of the human experience. It always has been. It demonstrates the extreme hubris for a tech giant to claim he can differentiate between a legitimate conspiracy to explore versus an illegitimate one. One person's righteous investigation is another person's conspiracy theory, and so on and so forth. So basically, yeah, that's the that's what's happening with. But it all part, is quite, it is quite important, because it's like we have millions, billions of people using social network. We're moving from a situation whereby at least people, we are all being enslaved. We are being enslaved quite brutally, economically, politically, socially, emotionally, psychologically. We are all being enslaved. That's the truth. And people are becoming increasingly afraid of speaking out about things and doing anything. And it's fear and trauma to control people. So we are all being enslaved, but people have been moving from a situation whereby they felt, at least in this situation of great frustration, in this situation of great frustration, when where they felt that that they've been pushing to debt, into abject poverty, cutting jobs, wages, welfare, public services, But at least people had, like, they were able to vent their frustration on social network, But now we have moved from a situation where at least people felt, billions of people felt they have at least a channel to express their anger and their frustration on social network, to a situation whereby instead, let me see if I can find a good angle to get some decent light there. A situation where people instead, try to get better light. Instead, they actually, they move to a situation where they actually now they surrender all these terabytes of their personal data, and now they actually increasingly worried, not so much worried what they're going to post on social network in the future, but worried about the fact that all this terabyte of information, they actually very soon get in the way of them, finding jobs, finding a place to live, or getting a visa to visit the foreign countries. So, or getting a knock on the door at some point, So what's happening with social network is pretty diabolical. And at any rate, all this information about basically, all this, let me check some information there so I can share with you about, last night I came across quite I suspect that, the simple fact that when a week ago I tried to create this 2 event, I don't think I ever abused the invitation feature or on Facebook. And then I was prevented from inviting anyone. So I can only assume that I get all the shadow banned by Facebook. That can be done in many different ways. So, but I would like to show you some fantastic article and fantastic information I came across last night, and which is really I think go really at the go really at the at the bottom of all this, this book. Let me show you if I can, if I am able to. This book, let's see if I can show it to you. Yeah, this book is called Surveillance Valley by Yasha Levin. It basically is the subtitle is okay. Let me see if I can show it to you, and let's start. He's saying the secret military history of the internet. So this goes really at the bottom of all this. Internet, spying, collecting people data, social network. It don't pull any punches. Basically, it's a reporting on Earth the true history of the internet. It was built by the government to spy on citizens at home and abroad. So, so it's just it just doesn't tell you. Oh, there may be something wrong with the internet, with the data collection, with social networks. You go a lot deeper than that. It's the true history of the internet. It was, I'm sure everyone knows that the internet has been created by DARPA. So, but it was built by the government to spy on citizens at home and abroad. In Surveillance Valley, Yasha Levin traced the history of the internet back to its beginnings as a Vietnam-era tool for spying on guerrilla fighters and anti-war protesters. A military computer networking project that ultimately envisioned the creation of a global system of surveillance and prediction. Levin shows how the same military objective that drove The development of early internet technology are still at the heart of Silicon Valley today. Spies, counterinsurgency campaigns, hippie entrepreneurs, privacy apps founded by the CIA. Let's see if I can see a bit more of this article. Let's see if you can see a bit more of this article. And privacy apps founded by the CIA from the 60s to the 2010s, this decade. This revelatory and sweeping story will make you reconsider what you know about the most powerful, ubiquitous tool ever created, meaning the internet. So, when you realize that, strange thing happening online, a strange thing happening to people on the internet, quite sophisticated instances of censoring and interfering and what have you not. So that's the history. That's a fascinating book, which I just start reading. It's quite a big book. Take me a while to go through everything, but to finish it. But so show you that because many articles have been written about social network and the internet, the fact that they're hoarding up all our data and things. But usually these articles remain at a rather superficial level, like say, it's saying like, oh yeah, there is something going wrong with social network and that their nature is changing and blah blah blah. But it is Yashua Levin is actually going to really going to the bottom of the entire problem. The true history of the internet, it was built by the government to spy on citizens at home and abroad. But we know that the internet was created by DARPA anyway, but we always thought, like, including myself, possibly, like, okay, it was a bit of an original scene. The fact that it was created by DARPA, but then, it did evolve in different various ways, and then now we have something which is which it can be an instrument for good, for spreading information and blah blah blah. So yes, okay. So, and I would like to also go, because there's been momentous thing happening all over the place at the moment, and okay, then we have this quickly I would like to have a look quickly at this one. I would like to have a look quickly look at this one and see if I can. That's something which happens every day on our social networks, so I don't want to make a song and a dance about this. But so it's a very common. Every day there's something new, new pages being deleted, a new account being closed down and stuff. So it's just quickly. Facebook blocks pages with millions of subscribers after CNN reports ties these pages with Russia Today. So the scary thing is, if they if they can delete page, apparently they this page they were deleted without any warning. And then when the people, running the pages, they try to contact Facebook to see if there was a way for them to get the pages reinstated, or the Facebook apparently completely did ignore their approaches and their approach and try, So as I said before, so when it is all the social network, they decide to delete your page, they decide to delete your account, the scary thing is that there is no warning. They don't give you any warning. They say, oh, you shouldn't be doing this and that. And then they just delete everything. And then after that, which includes also the loss of a lot of information which is not retrievable after that. So you also lose a lot of information. It's not been backed up anyway in any other way. And then if you try to contact them or to file appeal or something, there is no way to appeal. There is no way to because this is all this company, a private company. So so no way to get any kind of appealing or get any kind of redress. So when a page are gone, they are gone. And then it's quite scary for target individual because it's quite scary for target individual because all these companies which work with Russia today, you may say they may have some agenda. Everyone has agenda, some kind of agenda. Anyone in the realm of information has some kind of agenda. So they say they may have an agenda. The agenda may be like to expose, to the Western public some of the criminal activity of their government, because unfortunately our government is they're getting up to a kind of criminal activities, stuff which can only be described as criminal in in any way, and most of the time, like most people in the West, are completely in the dark what their taxpayer money is being used for. The criminal activity that are used to being sponsored with their taxpayer money, whilst at the same time they see like themselves getting increasing into debt. They see their like welfare being cut, their jobs being cut, their wages being cut. So that may be the agenda. It is, the Russia Today group of companies they have to let people into West. But one thing that it must be said for them is that they always very scrupulously, accurate in terms of facts. I don't think they never been found at fault in terms of facts. They say, oh, you have propaganda, but they never able to find any fault in the information they're putting forward, So it is quite scary for target individuals because, if they can delete like pages with millions of followers and that they're fairly scrupulously careful with in the fact they share, they disseminate. Imagine, like how easy for them is to delete pages and account of target individual, which is most of the time that if they accuse us of being crazy and talking nonsense and stuff. So it is. So it's very scary for target individuals as well, because you see that these pages which are often have millions of followers, and they're all totally above board in terms of the quality and the accuracy of the information they're bringing forward, being deleted overnight without any warning, without any any possibility of appealing or getting any redress. So imagine how easy it would be for them to start deleting all the accounts of all the pages of target individuals, and no one with who's going to defend us? So that's quite scary. So okay, so let's have a look at all the information there, because it's as I say at the moment a lot of oh yeah, that's an interesting little article on AstroTurf. AstroTurf, it seems that basically, I would like to show you, again from the Russia Insider, but you need to, like, you need to use Russian media, because that's the only one that has some kind of interest in telling the truth about what's going on. So that's talking about like how there is all this protest in Ukraine, and apparently most of them are just, they're recruiting people they pay to protest. So this much is for AstroTurf. AstroTurf. See what other news, recent news we have to talk about. Oh, that's quite interesting. From Mint News, which I think that the article is pretty excellent article. So let's see what we can do to get a bit of tea. So that's, they say, the oligarchs behind the humanitarian regime change network, because it's all a racket, it's all a business, all a regime change, push for UK Labour to split. you know. So I don't know if I can show it to you. Yeah, the oligarchs behind the humanitarian in inverted commas Jim Chen network are the same people who desperate to get a split in the Labour Party. And this is quite interesting because you know, uh, you know, I may I may be making myself unpopular by saying this, but I think I totally support Jeremy Corbyn. I totally, at the moment, I totally support the Labour Party, and I think many of people in this country desperately need the Labour government to reverse all these, you know, murdering disabled people, murdering the homeless, cutting wages, cutting public services, they transforming this country into some kind of third world developing country, basically, if they are allowed to carry on, you know, remaining in government. So I think, you know, but there is a billion of people in this country which are all the people are being pushed, being sanctioned by you know, the Department of Work and Pension, and all the people committing suicide, all the people living in the street. I mean, there's many of people that are desperate for, literally desperate to get this situation reversed and to get a Labour Parliament. And I don't know if I can find, there's an interesting article. We talk about the last time, what happened last time. There was a similar situation occurring. There were a number of MP which split the Labour Party, you know, ushering in Margaret Thatcher. So I think you can find the yeah, I think it is probably the article. So is the article from the yeah, it's the article. So it was a very interesting article to show exactly what happened the last time, you know, the last time they managed to engineer a split in the Labour Party, which was maybe 1981. Oh, I think this is an excellent article by, let's see if I can find it, by Diane Abbott, which is also happened to be my member of parliament, on the Metro. And she, that's the 7, which the far from magnificent 7, which I'm not going to say what I think about these people, but yeah, it is an excellent article by Diana Abbott, which basically, see if we can have a look there. It's an excellent article by Diana Abbott, and she says, I am old enough to remember the last big split in the Labour Party. It led to the formation of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, in 1981, as I said. The new party was then launched with an even bigger fanfare than the current group. He had almost universal approval from the media. Yeah, the media, you know, these people like, you know, if you give it 10, they're probably going to sell their own mother, whatever. But, you know, and let's have a look what Diana Abbott say next. So, from the media, it made amazing stride very quickly. Let's hope this doesn't happen, doesn't repeat this time. At the time, 1981, 28 Labour MP defected to the SDP. Unfortunately, almost all of them incinerated their career. I mean, that, but these 7 people there, you may argue that they also, I mean, they obviously, they're really desperate. These 7 people, in inverted comma, these 7 people which, they're quite desperate to prevent the formation of a Corbyn government, but the people who are really desperate to prevent a Corbyn government are the people who bankroll them, right? The people who bankroll it. But also, I believe that all these 7 individuals, they've been all elected in pretty marginal constituencies, and they have a very with a very narrow majority. So their job is far from safe in this respect, having been elected to parliament with in marginal seats with a very narrow majority. But also, these there are people that they're like, their local constituency Labour Party, they have been trying to get rid of them and deselect them purely because they spend most of the time spinning and leaking against the Jeremy Corbyn, against the Labour Party. So obviously, if you're a Labour MP and you spend most of your time going to the media, leaking stories, spinning against your party, the leadership of your party, so maybe you deserve to be deselected, right? So that is the background of this situation. All these people, they want their seat in very marginal seats with a very narrow majority. And they try to, their constituency Labour Party, they were trying very hard to get rid of them, deselect them. So in a way, we can also argue that they jumped before they got pushed, basically, So, but then let's see. So let's see what's happening in 1981 when this thing happened, at the earlier time. 28 Labour MP defected to the SDP. Unfortunately, almost all of them incinerated their career. Well, these people are all, the same thing is pretty sure to happen. To happen to the 7 individuals because they all in marginal seat with very narrow majority. They don't get any support from the constituency Labour Party, so I mean, they're probably going to disappear. But the thing is, they're probably going to disappear into oblivion, but not before having done an enormous amount of damage to the Labour Party, possibly even preventing any chance of Jeremy Corbyn to become prime minister. So I mean, but then they're probably not concerned about their future political career because they probably once they leave office they're probably going to be handsomely rewarded by all these oligarchs and bankers in the city of London and people in the establishment, so they get all these not executive directorship, all these very nice little cushy jobs and things with where they don't have to do anything. They get maybe $500,000 every year for doing absolutely nothing or something. So they already decided that their future is in the private sector. I don't think that they see their future as in the creation of a new party. Because they see their future in preventing a Labour government and then getting a lot of money in the private sector. But let's see what happened in 1981 after there was a similar defection. So as Diane Abbott says, the lasting achievement of the previous defector, the previous 28 defectors, was to split the Labour vote and help keep the Tories in power for 18 years, Margaret Thatcher. The danger is that it's put the possibility of a Labour government further away than ever when so many ordinary people are desperate for a Labour government. The Tories are the party that had brought down a record level of violent crime, a struggling national service, damaging cuts in local government, benefit cut, the Windrush scandal, and the bungled Brexit. So that's, I wanted to say a few words about these 7 individual, which I consider them to be utterly despicable individuals. That's my personal opinion. Excuse my French. Luciana Berger, Chuka Una, and a few others. So okay. And let's look at some other news, recent news, which that is a good one. Yeah, concert. So obviously, it is the same people have been strangling the Venezuelan economy for concert for regime change. I think it's been launched by Richard Branson, by the way. So if you ever thought that Richard Branson, or you ever suspected that Richard Branson is a total so-and-so, there you go. Okay, so let's have a look what it's saying there. So now after after strangling the the economy of Venezuela for more than 20 years, now they say that they want to send in a altered regime change NGOs, which probably, there have been they discovered some weapon, although they were trying to get some weapon in the country. So so there is strong suspicion that they trying to smuggle arms into Venezuela with aid, like they did they've been arming the AstroTurf protester in Ukraine. But now that's interesting because there is so after the Venezuelan government quite rightly refused this travesty, to allow this travesty into the country, this aid. So after now we have a situation where there is, if you want to aid the Venezuelan people, like the Bank of England is withholding 1.2 billion worth of gold belonging to the Venezuelan people. So they're refusing to return the gold, and then the American government, the U.S. government, is refusing to return a even larger amount of gold to the Venezuelan people, and then they also, I think, withholding 0.27 billion worth of other Venezuela assets. That's the U.S. government. So they say they want to. Now they are totally draconian and lethal sanction on the country, so that they're basically preventing even to get basic medicine and life-saving medicine to get into the country. But they say they want to aid the main concern is to aid the Venezuelan people, you have to wonder why they're not concerned about it's a long story. You can debunk all the you can go on, start debunking one by one all these lies and nonsense about the fact that Maduro was not democratically elected, the fact that the current situation is due to mismanagement of the economy, the fact that they say, this is a dictatorship, but there is no freedom of expression, there is no freedom of press. It's mind-boggling, because the 90% of all the media in Venezuela are owned by a small number of press barons, which who they totally against the government. They constantly spinning against the government and publishing lies and smears and accusation, insult against Maduro, the government. And they even occasionally call for the assassination of Nicolas Maduro. So I mean, but then in the media, in the Western media, we are told they're getting away with it. But then in the Western media, we are told that the country is a total dictatorship. So yeah, try to square this one, but. But anyway, so they tried to send aid into the country, which is obviously it was meant to either to bring arms and weapons into the country, or to bring all these regime change NGOs into the country, or to stage a massive provocation or something. Now, I think that is kind of falling a bit flat. Then we have this Richard Branson. He launches this idea of a council for regime change in Venezuela. So if you, I've always been thinking that Richard Branson was pretty much a dodgy character. Sorry. Now he's launching the idea of council for regime change, coming soon to the Colombia-Venezuela border. This is another provocation, obviously. Try to see if they can use this thing like to stir up tension and to start some kind of violence, and then maybe hoping the violence is going to snowball. So this is Richard Branson. So Richard Branson is, launching this regime change provocation in. So that's quite interesting. And let's go back so we can find some more interesting news. Oh yeah, well. Oh, there's an interesting article. Yeah, that's it say how say like how 1984 turned into an instruction manual. So, how 1984 turning. It does from text and activist post say how 1984 turned into an instruction manual. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is something else. Yeah, so yeah, instruction manual. It's amazing how many of these. How much of this book is how many of the things described in 1984 have come to complete fruition. But yeah, and so this is again Surveillance Valley. And so I'm going to read this book and I'm going to report on it. So because it seemed to, some people are becoming increasingly suspicious about, social network, but it's, Yasha Levin it seemed to imply in his book Surveillance Valley that they all DARPA project was actually there was pretty much some malignant intentions, but from the very beginning in the creation of the internet and social networks. So it seems to be a level of deliberation and intentionality or whatever. But, let's see if I can find, but it is also, another good article. Can find it. Another good article. Yeah, there is this Pax International newsletter. I was very happy to see that In the last Pax International newsletter, we get quite a bit of coverage, including picture with Les, London and Stoke newsletter. Here is with our next two events being advertised and various things. So a big thanks to Derek Robinson for incorporating our Les, London and Stoke newsletter into just a second, just incorporating our Les, London and Stoke newsletter into the Pax International newsletter, also for all the excellent work Derek Robinson is doing, conducting. And let's have a look again, because there is there is also there is a very in a way it's like when there was this article by Susie Dawson, like Susie Dawson is the president of the New Zealand Internet Party, which was created by Kim.com. And she wrote this very long article called "Being Julian Assange." She being Julian Assange, and as you can find. Oh yeah, that's another. Being Julian Assange the article is so long. It's more like a little. It's more like a book. And she was starting to talk about what happened to Julian Assange. She ended up almost covering every single important aspect of what is happening at the moment in the world with the internet, social network, mainstream media, the ambiguity of a lot of organization and mainstream, even alternative media, which is on one end, and the infiltration, the massive infiltration of all activism network, the ambiguity of that is organization which allegedly promote different things like freedom of speech, attempted all in bed with the CIA and stuff. Yeah, last night I came across a similar article about Pierre Omidyar, his activity. This article is supposed to be only about Pierre Omidyar, which is one of the founder of eBay and is a multi-billionaire, and he has his finger in every intelligence, mainstream media, propaganda organization. Is quite amazing, because this article, like the previous one I mentioned from Susie Dawson, is starting to talk about Pierre Omidyar, and which was one of the people financing the Intercept. Quite interesting title for this organization, quite interesting name for the organization, considering that 99% of all the Snowden files have not been released. So, I mean, this organization is called the Intercept, so that's quite interesting. And this article starting to talk about is but first I want to, I'm going to get there, but first I want to tell you a few things about Tor. Tor, because I'm sure a lot of you are using Tor. I think they're gaining a degree of privacy and some protection from the ever-present spying by the establishment, by the intelligence community. But in this article, which is the Tor file, transparency for the dark web. There's quite a few interesting information about Tor, which you may want to know. So it's charting the relationship between the Tor project and its main founder, which is a CIA spin-off, now known as the Broadcasting Board of Governors, BBG. So So he's saying, this is a well-researched article, he's saying that the Tor project is mainly founded by the Broadcasting Board of Governors, a organization which is basically a CIA spin-off. So you say Tor, a private non-profit that underpins the dark web, is almost, listen to this, is almost 100% funded by the US government. You won't believe how closely they collaborate. I tell the story of this relationship and its evolution in detail in Surveillance Valley. So there we go back to Surveillance Valley, the book I mentioned before. So it is a bit of a, there's a bit of a trailer, if you want, for the Asher Levin book. So I repeat, in case you may say, Tor, a private non-profit that underpins the dark web, is almost 100% funded by the US government, namely the CIA. And then he say, Yasha Levin, he says, you won't believe how closely they collaborate. So if you, what is the main, what's the thing here? The thing is that, we don't, if Tor is almost 100% founded by the US government, by the CIA, it's only logical to assume that they are under back doors inside the software. The software is leaking like a, So basically, it seems that the main idea of it's not that they're founding it because they want to have some control over it. Maybe they're just finding because all this information that people share on the dark web or through Tor, they probably have the 100% access to it. So in a way, it's like maybe the idea is to lure people into a false sense of security, sharing the information using Tor, and then they basically know everything you say there, you do there. So that's quite interesting. It's quite interesting notion. If you probably using Tor, that may some food for thought for you. 100% founded by the CIA. Good. So, but then let's go to this article about. So you can find it. Yeah, let's go to this very interesting article. What it says is, so people usually think about, they focus on Google, YouTube. People focus on Google and YouTube, and like Google, Alphabet, YouTube, Eric Schmidt, or they think about they think Amazon and Jeff Bezos, or they think about Facebook. But there's another character there which is keeping quite a low profile, but seems to have his fingers in every pie. And that is Pierre Omidyar, one of the founders of eBay. So he say, how one of America's premier data monarchs is founding a global information war and shaping the media landscape. Through his purchase of influence over the daily flow of information to American media consumers, a dizzying array of connection to the national security state and the media empire to shield him from critical scrutiny, Pierre Omidyar has become one of the world's most politically sophisticated data monarchs. And it's quite amazing because it seems that there is connection to round about everything there. And let's see if I can get a better. So actually, at some point is showing some chart. Some chart. I don't know if I can show it to you. Some chart showing all the Pierre Omidyar media empire. Basically, he has connection with something based in the US called the News Integrity Initiative, not to be confused with the British Integrity Initiative, which is mainly being run by the British intelligence community. But Pierre Omidyar is also a lot of connection with the British Integrity Initiative. So it's amazing because you have all these organizations like the Intercept and even something. So organizations which you think they be above any kind of suspicious or to being bona fide like activism, alternative media organization. AU is amazing because and so he has like he has connection with like he has connection with the Guardian. He has connection with this Luke Harding, which has been spreading lies and misinformation and propaganda about Julian Assange, about Jeremy Corbyn. With I think So you have a long list of mind-blowing, yeah. So it's connection with the right-wing media, fake right-wing media, fake left-wing media, AstroTurf, human rights organization, which you may think they are bona fide, until we find out better or something. But so his connection with Billy Crystal, which is, which is the husband of Victoria Nuland, which was basically running the State Department when Hillary Clinton was in charge. Hillary Clinton was more concerned about making money, running all this pay-to-play business, but the person really in charge was neocon Victoria Nuland. She is the wife of the top neocon Supremo Billy Crystal, which was possibly one of the founders of the PNAC Project for a New American Century. So there is Chapter 5 of the PNAC Project for a New American Century. Chapter 5, they were saying it would be very difficult to persuade the American public to invest all the money needed to rearm. They were talking about rearm at the time. The United States was spending more money on defense than all the following 10 countries combined in the chart of spending, defense spending, But so the chapter 5. So this Crystal character is. Which is possibly now is probably the, one of the top neocon in the US. Probably the granddad. The others describe it as the granddad of all the neocon US neocon movement. So it was one of the authors of the project. In chapter 5, they say like failing, very difficult to persuade the American people to invest the money in rearming. They were talking about rearming when at the time, the US was spending on defense more than the next 10 countries combined, failing a new catastrophic event like a new Pearl Harbor. So they're already planning 9/11. Obviously, that's quite obvious to anyone with a modicum of intelligence that was already the blueprint for 9/11, false flag. So it's quite interesting because it's a really diabolical network of, you know, influencing, which include, you know, which include the Pierre Omidyar influence with the this country integrity initiative, which has been spreading lies about Julian Assange and Jeremy Corbyn. So they've been trying to you know, that they've been instrumental to be a connection with the Force dossier, the Steele dossier, which is starting out this Russia Gate. No matter what you think about Donald Trump, apparently that was a lot of nonsense. So Pierre Omidyar, you know, is it is very interesting story about The Intercept. You know, The Intercept. Now, all the people initially, which co-founded by Glenn Greenwald. I think Glenn Greenwald is a man of integrity, but you know, as often happens, is Glenn Greenwald, which is a man of great integrity, is working for this corrupt criminal. Pierre Omidyar, and I don't know if he's aware of what is going on. So basically, interesting enough, when all these control media, they were like waging a campaign of counter assassination against Julian Assange. Remarkably, Glenn Greenwald, which is been falling into really bad company with The Intercept, and but he still refused to. He was still defending Julian, and so it was yeah. But and then there was what is Laura what is the name of the woman, which is the one who made the documentary? Yeah, where is it? Laura Piotras, which is together with Glenn Greenwald, was she was the two people who were visiting Edward Snowden in Hong Kong, together with Jennifer, is a lady which was a Australian lady, which she's a WikiLeaks lawyer. She's working for she's working with WikiLeaks. It's Laura Piotras, which made this quite interesting documentary about Edward Snowden called Citizen 7, then went on to later, I mean, after a couple of years, she went on to make this other documentary, this time a documentary called Risk, about Julian Assange. Unlike the Snowden documentary, which is interesting and fairly accurate, the Risk documentary is also like is a kind of hatchet job on Julian. So, and to the extent where WikiLeaks lawyer, and they sue Laura Piotras, and so that's quite yeah. So they start talking about Pierre Omidyar, and then they have the involvement of Pierre Omidyar and his Peter Thiel, the guy that Peter Thiel is the one which created PayPal. So you know, it's all connected. eBay, PayPal. Peter Thiel is involved with Palantir, which they're basically one of the main organization processing data, not just processing data, but processing data in a quite aggressive way for law enforcement, defense, and so yeah, so it's quite interesting. So let's see if there is any other news coming out in the last few days, which I missed. Yeah. Then there is a mention of Operation Israel Cyber Shield, which basically, there was this Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera, is a very compromised TV network. You can say a kind of there's so many things wrong about with Al Jazeera, but the good thing about Al Jazeera, though, is that they made this this excellent documentary about let's make things slightly better there. Okay, a documentary which allegedly the Israel lobby don't want you to see, and which is then the documentary has been banned, been very, very difficult to watch it. Say, but anyway, so is basically what this documentary say that you make any criticism of Zionism, of the state of Israel, immediately they even have this you immediately get flagged by this artificial intelligence system, which basically is scanning information from all over the world. So if you like, if like you're on a social network, it so happens that you are kind of regularly posting information which is somewhat critical of Zionism, of the state of Israel. On a global basis, they have this artificial intelligence system, which is you immediately get flagged at a probably different level of flagging, obviously depending on what you are saying, what you are doing. So you get flagged, and then you come to the attention of any number of people, and then what may easily happen, you get your social networks account deleted, you get shadow banned. You can, if you're a speaker, you can get deplatformed. If you're really a public figure, like happened recently with this new elected member of Congress, this lady, which unfortunately I don't remember her name, but immediately they start a systematic campaign of character assassination. Obviously the first thing they say you're anti-Semitic, but then they try to dig up all kind of other stuff. Everything they can find, on you, using all the terabyte of information they have on every single one of us. So so you get then you get the physical attack, you get the blackmail, you get the sack from your job. So that's quite interesting. So that's happened to, you may say, everyone in the world. Obviously, people if you're in the United States or in Europe, they're probably particularly vulnerable to this kind of activities, and particularly vulnerable and exposed. So so it goes from first you get flagged, and if depending on the how much of a problem they think you are, you may get like your social network account deleted, and then after that you may you may lose your job. You may find all kind of thing happening to you with your bank account. Maybe that your bank may decide to like terminate your bank account, or all kind of all things that may be thrown out of your accommodation, or you may get physically assaulted if you're a speaker. May get deplatformed, and then blackmail, character assassination, lies, horrible lies being spread. So this happen if you. So I would advise uh, everyone to have a look at this documentary, Al Jazeera documentary about the Israel lobby, in particular in the United States, but also in Europe, and you know, and so yeah, well, this there is the government bodies in the state of Israel, which is presiding over this. I don't know how to call it really, if I should call it a propaganda activity or counterintelligence activities or whatever. So, in Israel, the organization, not the agency presiding over all this kind of activities, called the Ministry of Strategic Affairs, operating this effort in collusion with an extensive network of youth-based organizations. Please note that I'm talking about all these facts that people, I think, are entitled to know, not in any kind of inflammatory way or jump into conclusion. I'll talk about all this stuff in a very factual way, and the organizations they use to silence everyone criticizing the state of Israel or supporting, mind you, the fact that I'm talking about this, I'm talking about this formation in a non-inflammatory, quite, factual way. Doesn't give me any particular protection from any kind of retaliation or consequences, or the way. But anyway, please note that I talk about this stuff in a non-inflammatory way, just describing the facts. So it is this organization in the U.S. who then engage in this kind of activity on behalf of the state of Israel. Is included organization one called Israel on Campus Coalition, presumably to if anyone in a university in the U.S. trying to organize a meeting which is in any way critical of the state of Israel, etc., etc., probably 99% of chances they are going to shoot it down. And there's another one called the Israel Project. There's another interesting one is of this shadowy organization which try to prevent any critic of the state of Israel. It's called the Foundation for the, as usually, that quite irony the way they named the organization, a foundation for the defense of democracy. Like in this country, it is by a propaganda organization they have to attack Jeremy Corbyn, to attack Julian Assange. They call it the Integrity Initiative. So that's quite, that's quite interesting. So that's a very interesting article. So what does it say underneath? Let's talk about talking about Israel. Psychological warfare. See if we can have a better look there. Is talk about the Israel government global campaign of cover sabotage. Cover sabotage of the BDS movement. Then there is also there is also the film show footage of the very same ex-military intelligence officer, which is called Sima Vaknin-Gil, claiming to have mapped Palestinian right activism globally. Not just the United States, not just campuses, but campuses intersectionally. Labor unions, churches. She promised this ex-military person to use this data for offense activity against Palestinian activists. So that's I think that's quite interesting bit of information. So let's see if anything has been happening in the last few days or in the last week which worth mentioning. Yeah, there's a few mentions. They found in Haiti. It's quite interesting because in Haiti it's quite interesting because from the footage I was able to watch, it would appear that possibly the repression actually, the repression of protest in France and Haiti, certainly in Haiti, has been a lot more violent and brutal than the repression of protest in Venezuela, where they all they can have all this large rally protesting the government and it seems that actually there hardly any interference unless they start, unless the protesters start some kind of violent activity. There is hardly any, there is hardly any kind of. So it's quite interesting that you have all this repression in Haiti and France, which is on the face of it. It seems to be a lot bit France using plastic bullets, a plastic bullet the size of a golf ball, and the size of a golf ball, and then using this little tear gas grenade. But they're not just tear gas. If they explode close to you, it's like a small bomb. It's like they're throwing a small bomb. They have the effect of being hit by a small bomb. They're supposed to be tear gas. Sound quite alright, tear gas, but it's like a small bomb. If people having this thing exploding against their arms and limbs, their limbs destroyed, or some people had their entire hands of one protester was completely blown apart. There is possibly, to date in France, 1,300 people reporting very serious injury, life-changing injuries, and some 20 people, they lost at least one eye. They lost at least one eye by getting the eye hit by this kind of rubber projectile, which is the size of a golf ball. But apparently all the attention, and then you have an unspeakable thing happening in the Gulf with Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain, and Kuwait to a lesser degree. Really unspeakable things in terms of repression. But obviously, for some reason, all these regime change brigade, they really. They don't care about the humanitarian catastrophe in Yemen. They don't care about all the thousands of women and children being murdered there, possibly more than half of the population dying of starvation, the biggest cholera epidemic in the history, haven't been registered in the history of humanity, but they obviously, for some reason, they really concerned about these poor people in Venezuela. So you see all these protesters that actually, they all middle class, they look really, really wearing expensive clothes, and so, so you have all these people in Washington and London and in Brussels that for some reason, they don't care about all the image of starving children in Yemen, of the fact that they basically, like every time they do some bombing, they basically, what they actually do is to try to destroy a country, complete infrastructure, so that they go for hospitals, school, sewage treatment facility, water facility, power station, they go, they just network, communication network, TV station, radio station, they just try to destroy everything. So they don't care about the people of Yemen, which is actually one of the poorest countries in the world, if not the poorest country in the world, getting out the little infrastructure, what little they have in the way of infrastructure completely destroyed, these people being pushed back into the Middle Ages, and but they, for some reason, they have all this feeling for the poor people in Venezuela, all these protesters in Venezuela, which look really well fed. They were wearing, most of them were wearing actually expensive clothes, and so obviously they are bleeding for this poor protester in Venezuela, whilst the most any number of countries in which they Western sponsored carnage going on, and they obviously, but they're not interested, and they're not interested. It doesn't even get reported in the media, so it's like it doesn't exist. But for some reason, all these all these bleeding out people with like Richard Branson and all the bureaucrats and non-elected bureaucrats in Brussels, and our government in this country, and the American government, they have all this feeling, they feel so strongly about the poor people in Venezuela, And you see all these protesters, which are all really well fed. No one is interfering with them. They take over the center of a city. They protest. They do whatever they want. They look really well fed. They're really well dressed and everything. And but obviously, we are supposed to be concerned about this poor protester in Venezuela. But all the carnage instigated by the West in Syria, where we're still arming terrorists, in Sudan, when Western intervention has been Somalia, Ukraine, which has been transformed into a fell country, the carnage taking place in Yemen, Libya, a country we are completely destroyed. Now we have, instead of you don't have a civil war in the sense that to have a civil war you need to have two different factions fighting each other. In Libya you have 4 or 5 different governments fighting each other. So I don't know if that can still be called a civil war. So so basically, you have all this carnage, which doesn't even sponsored by the West to further Western interests, to sell Western arms and weapons, and which doesn't even get reported in the media. So it's like it's not happening. And then you have all this bureaucrat in Brussels, all this in this country, this government, which is basically murdering the disabled and the homeless in this country by the 100,000. They all like. They're all concerned about, all of a sudden, this enormous concern and this bleeding heart and for the people of Venezuela, you see. It's, that's another interesting one. Including Richard Branson, which, is, now he want to organize a concert, it's not even a peace concert, he's calling it, Richard Branson is calling this thing a regime change concert. That's quite good. On the border of Colombia, Venezuela, obviously there is. It's difficult not to think that Richard Branson is instrumental to some creating some kind of deliberately, knowingly instrumental to creating some kind of very dangerous provocation on the Colombian-Venezuela border, which is already very like a tinderbox there, which can easily lead to to a civil war in Venezuela where 100,000 are going to die. So that's Richard Branson's contribution to whatever. So yeah, so I see if I can find some other interesting news for you. Enslavement watch. So basically, so it look like, it look like the feeling you get is that everything is getting worse. You know, and in the way, in the way they're taking away, taking away people job, people wages, people welfare, people public services, people freedom of speech, people um, privacy, data, civil liberties. It's like they don't even bother to, because they've been doing this thing for decades. That they're doing this thing, been doing this thing for centuries. But it's like nowadays they don't even bother to pretend. At least in the past, there was some pretension that going by the rule of law or something. No, they do, might is right, they do all this, engage in all these kind of criminal activities in total contempt of international law, in total contempt of treaty, a covenant they have been signing, in total contempt of domestic law, in total contempt of natural law. So, it's quite scary. It's quite scary. They seem to they seem to play fast and loose with the danger of a nuclear war. So it's very scary. So and I think people basically are getting enslaved, because I think the figure they're not telling you is that I believe maybe up to 70% of all the people in Europe and in North America, they probably are being pushed into abject poverty. Okay, in this country they carry on with this program, which universal credits, so they're making change in the say in the welfare system. They're introducing these universal credits, which we've been shown together with their totally draconian system of sanction. If you're getting like unemployment benefit, or what is called in this kind of job seeker allowance, and you miss an appointment, or you get maybe you have to go without any money for maybe up to 6 weeks. So this switch to this universal credit system it entails the fact that claimant they put in a situation to go for several weeks without any payment. Likewise, the sanction system put a large number of people in the situation having to go for several weeks without any payment. So what we see is the universal credit switch plus the sanction system in the British welfare system is causing, we know, is a fact, is causing every day, every week, every month, thousands of people to become homeless and to become totally destitute. And what it does is it push a lot of people, delete, remove. Actually, what the end result of that may be actually that a lot of people get pushed out of they end up falling through the net in terms of the welfare. So then it will be easy for them to say, that's save a lot of money which can be used for wars and regime change and pushing propaganda. It save a lot of money that can be with all these people, thousands of people every day falling through the net due to these changes. So it may be easy for them to massage the unemployment figures. It may be easy for them to divert all this money, welfare money, to wars, regime change, financing terrorism, which is finances terrorism, and the such like. So basically, we have a lot of people dying. It's been documented that is, without being melodramatic, people have been pushing to, the way fastest and lose, the way that they are dealing with the welfare system, they've been causing the death of many, many, many people, disabled people, and homeless people. So see if I can let you know about this play, new play, a new play which is called. Oh, wish I remember how it's called. Let's see. Actually, it's been staged and written and staged by a friend of mine, which is a guy called Peter Nitti. Peter Nitti is he's been staging different plays. Like there was a previous one, which is is a little play which was staged in a small venue. It was basically exposing the total absurdity of the official version of what happened on 9/11. So that was one of these, and now see if I can find it. Let's look. Oh yeah, there's staging this in small venue, and the next this play has been staged before in a number of different venues. Now this possibly the last round of the play is going to be played at the Etc. Theatre in Camden, which is very close to Camden Market and Camden Tube Station. This play is called Outright Terror, Bold and Brilliant, and it's basically about the 7/7 bombing, and I must confess that I took the official version of what happened on 7/7 to very much to face value, and whilst in the official story of 9/11 there is some blatant absurdity and contradiction and insanity that from very much early on they started to question the official version. With 7/7 away up to a certain time away. I was taught, believe the kind of the official version of events, and until then you start looking into facts and things, and I don't know if there's an interesting picture there which may be worth showing. I don't know if, well, not there, but so look if we can. So if you can, so the name of the play is the name of the play is Outright Terror, Bold and Brilliant, and it seemed to basically expose and a number of contradictions and I really don't know very much about this issue, but a number of contradictions and things which are happening today. It had included, like in so many other terror attacks, there was on today, from earlier on, there was some sort of drill going on in London, which seemed to mimic pretty closely, very closely, what then happened in terms of the terror attack, and also the fact that apparently the four alleged bombers were all being their mentor was some sort of imam, which was very much compromised with MI5, so it was some sort of double agent. The fact that on one of the tube carriages, it was supposed to, all the time was supposed to be caused by the explosion of a small rucksack, but in fact, the forensic, they found out 3 big holes on the floor of the carriage. So in the middle, you had the 2 different ends of the carriage in the floor of the carriage. So it's quite difficult to conceive that may have been caused by a small rucksack exploding. So, you know, so I used to think that, I used to believe the official version until I came across some information and showing that there actually, even with 770, there is a lot of information that really doesn't add up. And, you know, and my friend Peter Nitti, playwright and is staging this play at the Etc. Theatre in Camden, and Peter has been showing in the past a lot of interest for targeting individual issues, and to try to find out more, etc. Yeah. So I think so. Now let's try to go back where I started, which is. I'm going to end in a little while, in a second. Start to go back where I started, which is, as I said, the main purpose of this broadcast is to these streams is to promote target individual TI events where people can meet face to face, as opposed to as opposed to online activism. Online activism is right. Online activism is very good, is necessary, but I would advise people to take some of the time they're spending on online activism, just a small portion, to use it for face-to-face street activism and meeting other victims face to face. That's all. So I'm not bitching about online activism. I say just a small amount of the time you spend on online activism, try to divert it to maybe supporting face-to-face event, protest vigils, and meeting other victims face-to-face, having a coffee, exchanging experiences, talking about supporting each other, etc. in person. Because, as we were saying before, DARPA was created by the DARPA. The internet was created by DARPA, and as these Surveillance Valley books by Asha Levine suggests, it's not just what we see at the moment. It's not just the degeneration of the internet, the degeneration of social networks. Yasha Levin, he seems to suggest that was all this was happening at the moment was being planned all along. So when we talk about online activism, particularly if you are a TI, you need to be a bit careful, because they have. I believe they have, if you do all your activism online, they have mechanism in place to basically to screw up if you read, basically. So I mean, so I don't want to go into all this thing about online activism, street activism. I mean, I only say if you do a lot of online activism, try to at least a small portion of the time you spend on online activism, try to do some street activism and try to meet people face to face, to have videos and protest and stuff, or support vigil and protest. And so at the moment is very strange, because it seems that it's very difficult to get any kind of support for. It's very difficult to get any kind of support for the current event, and I'm trying. I am trying. We as Les London is talking. We are trying to organize In the last few months we're starting again having events and meeting and visuals, and the moment you see them again that it's quite difficult to get people to support. Well, anyway, as I said before, it will be really a big pity tomorrow, because if there's going to be a few students from UCL coming along for a project and interviewing us, and to put together a small documentary about targeting. And it would be really a pity if I end up being there on my own, because if people are interested in spreading awareness, that would be a good one good opportunity to help spreading awareness. So as I said, it would be really a pity if tomorrow I'm going to find myself there on, let me check a couple of things there, on my own. Anyway, I don't yeah, so I hope that there's going to be a few people there with me tomorrow. Either way, there will be videos, and either made by myself or by someone else, which are going to be shared eventually. So video will become available at some point soon, in the next few days, and that's all for now. So is it's like downbeat broadcast, but as I said before, if I look at my personal life, and if I look at what's happened to many other people in all over the world, I think they're doing quite a good job of pushing us into some kind of enslavement situation, and so I can say I feel particularly optimistic about the outcomes of different things, and because evil seems always to prevail. I mean, if you look what's happening around you, evil intends in a way to prevail. I mean, people make a lot of efforts, but they intend everything is screwed up. And so I think they're doing a very good job in enslaving us psychologically, politically, economically, emotionally, because they have all this narrative they use to screw us up, and they have all their emotional blackmail narrative and stuff. So they even manage to screw up us emotionally. So it doesn't look very good, but as I said, there is going to be a few students coming from UCL tomorrow coming to joining us and coming to make a short documentary, and will be nice if I were to get some some support, or we are going to get some support and get a few people there. And that's all for now, and I'm going to stop, and yes.